Thank you for joining me here at the Real ResQ Podcast, where we are part of the Vertical Magazine's podcast network known as Helicast, alongside Hangar Z, the Helicopter Podcast, Valor Flight Crew Podcast, and Vertical MRO Podcast. You can find all of them at verticalhelicast.com. Now, a quick shout out from our sponsors. Switlick Survival Products. They manufacture the highest quality, safety, and survival products for aviation, marine, and military markets. Get in touch with them at switlick.com. Precision Aviation Group. Their precision is the key to your performance. Check them out at precisionaviationgroup.com. Metro Aviation. Their mission is to provide the safest and highest quality aircraft operations, completions, and maintenance. Check them out at metroaviation.com. Ready Bar, built for astronauts and made for you. Go to getreadybar.com, enter the promo code RESQ10 for 10% off. And as always, therealresqstore.com. Get all your swag to help support this podcast at therealresqstore.com. What's cool about this upcoming episode is you can take a deeper dive into Westpac Lifesaver Rescue Helicopter Service by checking out the Vertical Valor Spring 2025 edition. The link to the magazine will be in the bio, so go click on that and check it out. Now, some fun facts about our upcoming guest. He is a longtime surf ski paddler and has been lucky enough to snag a couple of national medals in the team events. He is very passionate about scuba diving. He is an avid hack photographer who gets lucky sometimes with the photos that he takes. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Mr. Shane Daw. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast. Today I've got a guy, actually it's another guy that I have from the Down Under in Australia. Oh, I love it when you guys come on. I don't get enough stories from you guys down there. There are so many that get called out, and I see and I reach out, and I don't know what is it with you guys are like, nah, I don't really want to talk, but whatever. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Shane Daw. He is the general manager of Westpac Lifesaver Rescue Helicopter Service in Sydney. What's up, Shane?
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Heck yeah. Are you kidding me? It's about time. Somebody said yes. Woohoo!
Yeah. Got lucky.
All right. All right. So there's a little bit more to than just the fact that you're here. Vertical Magazine has done an article on you guys, which is coincide with this episode specifically. And it should be out in the spring 2025 issue, and it actually talks a lot about your service and what you guys do. And great article. It brings up the boat or the sailboat race, I guess.
Yeah, Sydney to Hobart race.
Yeah,
it's a huge race. Goes from Sydney here to Sydney City. If you don't know Australia, Sydney City, right down to Tasmania into Hobart there. So it's around about over 1,200, 1,500 kilometres. It's a long way, and it's out in there in some pretty big seas, some pretty gnarly conditions.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that actually talks about it in the article is the fact that there was a major storm back in, it was 1998, and the article says this. In 1998, as the fleet set off down the coast, the sky darkened, the wind rose, and what began as a summer tradition quickly spiraled into a fight for survival. And that is how the opening of the article goes. It's crazy. And so when I got in touch with you and I, we're going to talk way more than just this, but that was just a piece of what you guys do out of Sydney.
Yeah, oh, it's incredible. And I wasn't involved in that incident, but talking with one of our pilots who's still here, John Clopper, amazing pilot. He was talking to us about the crew. He's been on TV talking about it. The conditions were horrific. They got out there, they got called that there was a number of boats. There was a big low coming through, and the Bureau of Meteorology put it up. So they put alerts that boats were starting to get in a little bit of trouble. And as they started heading down the coast, no one actually predicted how bad it was going to get. They were forecasting, maybe up to 60 to 70 kilometre winds. But, when they got on scene, they were getting, over 100-kilometre winds. They were getting seas which were getting over 15 to 20 metres in size. So, we're talking over 50 to 60-foot waves that were happening out there. And I know when we were talking with them and some of the other rescue helicopter services that were out there, because it wasn't just us, there was a number of agencies out there trying to do their best. We had altimeters, going from being at, 80 to 90 feet down to 0 feet, 3 feet type thing, because just with the big waves that are coming through. So, it's incredible to think that if it wasn't for the heroic efforts of the pilots, the crews, and, the teams all working together, there could have been a lot more lives lost. And tragically, a number of lives were lost in this incident. A whole pile of craft didn't finish from it. But it just shows you that, when you've got skilled people out there whose, whole life is about saving lives, they will do whatever they can to try and get people home.
Yeah. Holy cow. And that's how we're going to start this today. That's good. This is good. I like this. Shane. All right, we're gonna have to get John on here to hear exactly like the details of some of that, because that would be amazing to hear.
And John would be more than happy to get on there. And your biggest challenge is getting John to stop. So that's going to be your hard part.
My kind of this is fantastic.
He'll be brilliant at it. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. Nice. Well, I'll tell you what, Shane. Let's get like you specifically. Where are you from? And give us a little background. Like not only where you're from, but how did you get into search and rescue?
Yeah, well, originally I was raised in South Australia. I was born in New South Wales, down on the south coast, Nowra. But my dad was in the Navy, the Fleet Air Arm, ironically, and worked on helicopters, etc. We moved to Adelaide. That's where my mum's family was from, and where Dad was originally from. So we moved there because Dad was moving around a fair bit, and as a result of that, through a friend that I made at school, I joined the Nippers when I was about 6 years of age. So Nippers, which is
Nippers. Yeah, I've heard of this. I've heard of this term.
Yep, the Nippers. So that's what we affectionately call junior surf lifesavers or lifeguards.
Okay.
So it's
junior, like you're like a kid going through lifeguard training.
100%. So it's a junior lifeguard program,
awesome.
Junior lifesaving program. So, and the Nippers, is running here. So myself and my brother, we ended up joining the Nippers at that stage. It was, I think, partly for Mum, it was an opportunity for her to put us kids on the beach where we get rid of some of our energy. A couple of young boys go out there, get rid of some energy. And unbeknownst to us at the time, we were actually learning skills. We were learning how to identify rip currents. We were learning how to paddle boards in the surf, be comfortable in and around the ocean, and eventually how to save lives. And I stayed in those Nippers. I grew right up through the surf lifesaving ranks to get my surf rescue certificate, our bronze medallion, which is our lifeguard lifesaving qualifications. And I was involved in a couple of major incidents down at the club when I was younger, where we had to resuscitate and rescue people. And part of me felt a little bit inadequate with some of the things that I went, rightio, we rescued some people, and you think you do a good job, but you go, hang on, I felt a little bit helpless. So whilst I knew a bit, I went off and did a lot more training in advanced rescue skills, advanced first aid, emergency management skills. And out of the result of that, as it grew and involved in surf lifesaving, I got involved in more things with rescue boats and other rescue activity, because I was a competitor originally, so I was competing all the time, and made Australian champion in surf lifesaving events. So competing in the surf ski races. So won Australian medals there. Doing swim events, board events, etc. So, we're doing all the lifeguard type things, but doing it in racing competitions. We have an event here called the Australian Championships, which is second only to the Commonwealth Games in participant numbers. So they just recently run that again, where they have around about 8,000 competitors, 8 to 10,000 competitors. So used to compete in that and won a few medals over the years, which was pretty fantastic.
Congratulations.
But part of me, well, I was lucky. I had some good teammates that sort of carried me through. So
Awesome.
you take it where you can get it. So,
That's right.
but yeah, so we grew up in that environment. But it was also like being exposed to these situations where I went, you know what, I really like the life saving and the rescue side of it. So I took an interest in that part of it and went off and did, as I said, advanced medical courses and all those sort of things. And I actually got invited out to try out for the helicopter service when I was younger, in early 20s, and went out, tried out for that. Got in with a couple of the other young guys at the time, and we absolutely loved it. And it sort of flourished from there, where, you know, from 1988, got taken on as a trainee rescue helicopter crew, and I've been involved in the service in one way or another, from being a rescue crew to an air crew to aerial services officer, crew chief, through to moving over here to Sydney, being the general manager of the Westpac Lifesaver Rescue Helicopter Service here in Sydney. So it's been an interesting path. It's given me lots of opportunities over that time, and you know, it's crazy when you think about it and you say, rightio, 1988 to now, you know, we're talking 35 odd years. But some of the people I've met, some of the skills that you get to do, some of the jobs that you attend, it's quite amazing. So I've been very fortunate and very lucky.
Gosh, you and I, like we're like lined up all the way through. I started in, well, like I guess 99 is when I started going like my rescue swimmer training in the Coast Guard. But that was the beginning for me. Oh man. Oh, we definitely need to hang out more. All right.
That's it. Yeah. No,
I don't have any medals or awards though. I didn't compete. So
Yep. Oh, we did that basically to keep out of trouble, because that way, if we competed, that gave you a reason to party. So, you know, if you worked hard, you played hard. So, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I got a question about that. So I've actually seen, like, I had one of the guys down there send me some like Instagram post of people like diving off the blocks in a pool with a like a buoy, like I guess a buoy, yeah, like the life-saving buoy.
Yeah, rescue tube. Yep.
Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, not my world. I don't know. So anyway, so the tube, I'll call it the life-saving tube. So you dive in, swim down the pool, you flip over, you grab somebody, put them on that, and then you got to swim backwards, like just kick and hold. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, and it depends on which services and that you belong to. So they'll do rescue scenarios. So generally, they'll have pool competitions where they do it as a lifesaver rescue competition in a pool.
Okay.
Most of our competitions are in the ocean. So we have a pool competition.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll have a pool competition, and we'll also have an ocean competition. And it just depends on, you know, some people like the pool stuff a bit more controlled, but you'll get us that will go out in the ocean. So we'll do those sort of things out in the ocean as well. But it's really just, it's testing everyone. One of the things that we've found is that people like training get qualified, but skill enhancement for those sort of things, for board paddling, for swimming, etc., seems to increase when people get the opportunity to test their skills against others. And it's it's become very true that when you have a look at it, we do it with all our events, you know, from our running to our swimming, board paddling, skis, etc., to our inflatable rescue boats. There's competitions that are associated with them which have a rescue link, which is all about keeping people motivated, keeping them enthused, keeping them interested, but also it's pushing them a little bit further. So that means the community's a winner, because we've got, you know, surf lifesavers, the men and women around the country who are very highly skilled, very competent in a whole range of different conditions. And then what we get is from those people, they'll go into other things like being a rescue watercraft operator, so a jet ski operator, or into jet rescue boats, offshore rescue boats, or like myself and many others into the helicopter fields. So, and that's where, you know, we get out there, and it's that opportunity to get out there and test your skills in those environments. You know, like some of my crew here, you know, one of them, Trevor, he's a former Commonwealth Games swimmer, you know, so it's that medal. We've got people who are or still in the police department or fire department, from all walks of lives. And I think that's probably the beauty, is that coming into this, it doesn't really matter what you come from, it's what you bring and how you participate as part of a rescue crew member to, you know, achieve what we want to do, and that's bring people home safely. And it's like I've said to quite a few people when briefing people, etc., they said, oh, so there's no egos in helicopter operations? And I said, listen, I got to tell you, 100% false. there is many egos in the aviation and the helicopter industry. But the beauty is that we can sit around the room and we've got some of the guys, we have a lot of banter and a lot of fun with each other. But the key fact is, as soon as the bat phone, that's what we call our emergency phone, as soon as the bat phone goes, that all disappears. It's about everyone knows their job, they know their role, and they fit in. And it's a matter of being able to flick that switch and go, rightio, it doesn't matter who's who. If he's the air crew or he's a pilot, then he's in charge of those things. I'm the rescue crew. I've got to make sure this happens because your life's on the line. So, there's three of us when we go out on a job. Everyone's reliant on each other. It only takes one of us to mess up and it puts everybody else's lives at risk. So, but that's why we say you need to have a little bit of an ego because you've got to have confidence in yourself. But that confidence has got to be measured by making sure that you've done the training, that you've done all the right things, and you know that you can work well with the other people that you're working with. So, there's a lot of egos, but there's a lot of working together and that teammanship, and people really know, hey, this is, I've got to do this because if I don't do that, that puts someone else's life at risk.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Man, that's good stuff. All right. So now, if you and I put a team together right now, do you think we can hold our own?
100%, not a problem.
I mean,
you never say no. You never say no.
No, absolutely not. We'll call it a master's division. I don't even care. No, let's go. I'm in. I'll put some of those young little whippersnappers into place. That's it. Technique, man. There are things that you and I have learned that we can take in there that they don't know yet.
Well, it's funny. I remember, it's interesting. I remember when I first got into the crew, like we're doing all the races and all that sort of stuff. I got in the crew and we're doing all our swim tests and our mission tests and runs and, treading water for 15 to 20 minutes, holding objects, all this sort of stuff. We're doing all these sort of things. And, you get a couple of the older crew at the time, sort of having a bit of a laugh with us afterwards. And it took me a couple of years to sort of get used to it because you always had to be, always wanted to be first or second. You wanted to be right up the very front to prove who you were to the the senior guys that were in the crew and women. But you had to prove yourself. But it's funny. I know we were doing one of the swim tests one time. I pulled in a pretty good time and they went, yeah, that's good. And so how'd you go? And he said, yeah, I got in with 20 seconds to spare. I went, oh, he said, mate, all I have to do is within the time. Doesn't matter. Yes, you may have got in there 2 minutes earlier. Look at you. I'm still good. So yeah. Okay. Well, okay, right. Yeah.
As my buddy Dave Beecham would say, if the minimum wasn't good enough, it wouldn't be the minimum.
That's it. All we have to do is get in. Yep. So it's one of those things. Learning, you don't always have to rush. It's the old age adage. You never see an emergency service worker run into a situation, and it's the same as when we do things like you look at the mission. What's the mission? What do I have to complete? And what's the best way to complete it? So, it's one of those things where you got to let that ego come back a little bit and just get done what I need to do. So yeah, I sometimes there's a bit of pride. You always want to push yourself.
Of course, absolutely.
You always want to beat your mate.
Yeah. And this is why I think you and I are setting up a team right now. I'll start prepping. Yep. I'm coming down.
Yep. Get it going.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, all right. So I'll tell you what. Thank you for the background and everything that you've done. It's wonderful. Do you remember your very first call out for your first search and or rescue? We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Metro Aviation. Metro Aviation, the world's largest family-owned aeromedical operator, offers comprehensive aircraft services with 140 plus aircraft in over 25 states. The Completion Center installs medical and law enforcement kits and avionics, serving diverse aviation needs including offshore, utility, VIP, and corporate sectors.
For helicopters or just in general?
I'll tell you what, let's go in general, because again, you guys starting with the nippers. It's the junior lifeguard. Do you respond as a junior lifeguard or just learn?
You generally just learn, but we've had 10-year-olds that have performed rescues on people, so it does happen. My first one was probably around about 13 years of age, where we had a couple of people. It's not uncommon. It's very common in Australia to have like our youngsters involved in those sort of situations. But we had I was 13. There was a couple of young. There was a guy and a girl caught in a rip current. and they were taken probably about 300-400 meters away. And the guy who was so-called supervising me at the time, he knew I could swim, and he said, "Rightio, you're going out there to get these people." So I've gone out there, and they had one of these stupid floating bean bags. So it took me about, I don't know, 5-6 minutes to get out to them in the rip. Probably took me around about 35 minutes to get back to shore with them. So that's the sort of first one I remember. But going on from there, yeah, there was, quite a number of other rescues, which, some have ended up in very tragic circumstances where we've gone out and rescued people. And I remember one of the ones I remember a few years later on, not one of my first ones, but I were called down. There was a 15-year-old boy that had gone missing, and we went out there and we were searching for him, and then we ended up locating him and pulling him in. And I had a group of the young guys who I was training in nippers at the time, including my son and his mates, and they sort of helped me bring him in and helped try to resus him, etc. And they knew the kid, so that was traumatic in that sense, because I was concentrating on the kid, but then I had to think afterwards, okay, my son knows him, these kids know him, and that sort of, for some of those, it had big impacts. So we had to look after them for a fair bit after that to make sure they were okay. And for others, it didn't seem to faze them too much. And everyone, responds differently. But there's many different situations and different rescues that we've been involved in. Some have been fantastic, and some have been, a little bit sad, where, unfortunately you can't save everybody. I remember myself and one of my friends, when I was probably around about 17, 18, we went down to the beach in Adelaide on a beautiful summer's day. Like, we have 42, 43 degrees. So it's sweltering hot. We went down there, and I think it was 3 out of the 4 days we got down there, and we had a major rescue occur. And tragically, in those, it was him and myself got out there, rescued these 3 people. Unfortunately, none of them survived. And we said, that's it. We're never going down the beach again. I think 2 days later, we were back down the beach again and just getting involved, because it was in our nature. It's who we were, and we just, enjoyed being there and helping each other out, sort of thing. So I think I've been very fortunate in that sense. I've had good friends where we've been able to support each other in those difficult situations. But then moving through to the helicopters, probably one of my first memories is that we were out there, and there's a slightly different memory. It wasn't a rescue. We were out there, and one of the crew actually said, "You've got to make sure you have a good meal before we go flying." So I've had a big burger, a thick shake, fries, etc.
Okay.
We're out there.
See this ending poorly.
Yeah. We're out there, we're flying around, and there's a person in difficulty. We're doing a few orbits around it, and next thing that's come over on the hot mic, a bit of ralphing's going on, a bit of grumbling noises going on, and they go, "Oh, Shane, you all right in the back here? In the back there?" And I said, yeah. But the rescue crew, I said, Jeff's throwing up everywhere. So the crew that tried to stitch me up ended up throwing up everywhere. And then we had this rescue going on. So they said, "Well, okay, you've done a bit of work. You're going into the water." Put me in the water. We ended up static line back to shore. They were all right. They landed the helicopter, and we all cleared the helicopter and left the rescue crew to go clean up his mess. So, but yeah. It's a diversity of different jobs. So, yeah. I went and looked after the patient. They went and looked after the helicopter and got rid of the smell and the carrots that were there. So, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. It was 42 degrees that day. I remember it fondly. We're in wetsuits and just steaming hot. Yeah, it was, anyway. And ever since then, I've always eaten a big meal before I go flying. So, it's been good.
Okay. Yeah. I usually limit it just a little bit before I go flying. I might take a bite, like it's like a snack, and then you take a couple things with me. I throw a couple things in my helmet bag. So.
Oh yeah. No, we always have the lolly snakes as well. I know where you have snakes or red frogs or something like that.
What the hell is that?
Well, when you come to Australia, we'll show you. We've got the Allen's snakes, so it's lolly snakes like tube snakes, and you got red frogs, which are like lollies, etc. And what you'll be doing is, if we've got long flights, then you'll have those bags and you take it out of the kit bag. And if we're coming back just to give everyone a little bit of a sugar hit, then we open them up. And as you know, in the aircraft, you can't hear anything, but you can smell when the bag gets open.
Yeah.
The pilot's arm comes around and goes, "Where's my share?" And so everyone's into it. So you don't hear a thing, but you're soon, the food's already waiting for you. So.
Oh, that's funny.
So, yeah.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. One of the things I remember distinctly is, like, I'm flying up in Kodiak, Alaska, and we would fly around with like like a thermos, and I would have like spiced cider in it. So like halfway through the flight, I'm like pouring spiced cider, and they're like, "That smells delicious." So like, you can't have any. I'm like, "All right, here you go, here you go,
That's
crew."
it.
Oh, it's funny. Dang,
But
man.
but no, it's interesting, the jobs, but probably one of the, well, I think all the jobs are interesting in one way. It's one of the key jobs I had. It was 1993, November 1993. We got called up, it was with the Westpac helicopter service in Adelaide, but also a contractor at the time, Lloyd Helicopters, had the contract for the military. And what happened is there was in East Sale, Woodside in Victoria, there was a 707 jet for the military, which was doing training exercises, which crashed about 1 kilometre offshore. And because Lloyd Helicopters had the contract for search and rescue for the military, they had myself as a down the wire guy, and also they had one of the other air crew from police rescue. So we hopped in a 412 with the pilot Kingsley, and we took a 412 with all rescue equipment, flew immediately to Victoria, and then we started around the clock operations with the crews that were already there on site, and we spent the next 10 days there searching for the air crew. Sadly, 5 air crew lost their life in that incident. Very tragic incident. So yeah, we stayed on base there, as we do, and our job was there to try and make sure everybody came home, because a couple of the air crew weren't seated at the time, and therefore weren't located with the aircraft. So we were helping to try to recover all persons so that families and loved ones could say goodbye, as well as their colleagues. And then the other part of the mission was to retrieve as much as the aircraft, or locate as much as the aircraft over the distance, so that they could piece together what had happened with regards to that incident. I did a 10-day mission over there for that. That's probably one of the sobering ones, because the military was great, but it was interesting when we got on site, the commander said, like in the mess that we were staying in, and said, "Hey, listen, everyone's really appreciative that you guys are here, but they won't want to have anything to do with you, because they know that you're here to, do the job that they're not going to be doing at this stage." So, so we'd get quiet nods at dinner, we'd get a drink sent over, that sort of stuff. But it was very, very polite and very courteous, but it was also very sobering in the fact that you knew that these were their friends that they'd lost in a very horrific incident. So,
wow. Those aren't fun. We all get them.
Yep.
It's part of our job. It's what we do. But
yep.
I do like the fact that we talk about it here quite a bit, is that closure for the family, friends and family.
Yep.
Yep. And the hope.
And
it holds on to the hope.
Yeah. And that's a big one. I know that a number of us would tell you, and the same thing that you guys have experienced is a number of them, people will tell us, and it's not a failure, but you can't help feel that if you haven't been able to get someone home alive, it's horrific. But if you haven't been able to, find someone, then how bad that is. But we've had a number of families reach out to us because they've seen the amount of effort and energy that we've put in to try and locate their loved one, and it's just it's something you can't imagine. And we always feel very much for those that that we can't bring home, so that family can say goodbye. I know that we had a very sobering moment in Glenelg a few years ago, where we had I think it was 2016. We had a group of young children, Sudanese children. Once again, a very hot day, over 38 degrees. Pretty strong winds blowing around 40 to 50 kilometres, so it was whipped up a bit of a surf. There's not normally much of a surf in Glenelg. Pumped up around about a 2 to 3 foot, 4 foot surf, created some big rip currents there. And around about 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m., one of these children had come up to the lifesavers who were packing up at the time and said that one of their a friend had gone missing. I was the duty officer. We raced down there at the time, and unfortunately, there was a bit of a language barrier. We thought there was one person missing. And so we started searching, and not long afterwards, we found one child. It seemed all right. Put him on oxygen, started treating him, and then the police had arrived, etc. by that time. But as it grew, what we found is that there was not just the one child. He was going, my friend, because that's all he could really say. And so we worked out there was another person missing, and so we had a whole pile of crews out there. We got all the surf lifesavers that were back up in the surf club. I called the Westpac helicopter, our jet rescue boats at the time. So they were all coming in and searching, and we were searching the area. And then Anthony Merchant, one of the guys there, located another child. We brought him out. Myself and someone others started doing resuscitation on him. Paramedics arrived and took over while we went back to trying to work out, was everything else all right? And they said, no, there's still another child missing. So we kept on searching, and we found another one after about 5 or 6 minutes, and pulled that person up. So we know that we'd found, 3 of them at that stage. And then around about 200 meters down the beach, we could see a gentleman waving, and we could see an object in the water, and myself ran down with 2 other people, Steve and a couple of the other people, and young Tom, and we went down there, pulled this young child out of the water, resuscitated him for a long time, for about 30 odd minutes, and but unfortunately, there was so 5 boys came home alive, and sadly 2 boys didn't make it, and we felt it was just a very traumatic incident, and the whole surf club had been involved. There'd been around 20 to 30 people involved, plus the helicopters, the jet boats, and just the magnitude of it. But whilst we were told what a great job we've done, there was 2 young children, 2 11-year-olds that didn't get to go home to their families that night. But it was interesting. The family reached out to us to say, they wanted to say a big thank you, because they, in their thoughts, that at least they got to say goodbye. So it's still something I think about today, is that could we have found them quicker? But that we had every asset that we threw at them. As I said, there was 30 to 40 people there from the surf club. We had people in inflatable rescue boats. We had the jet rescue boat. We had the Westpac lifesaver rescue helicopter there, and you can only do so much. So the real message is there. We say to people, never miss an opportunity to tell your children, your loved ones, how much you care about them, and look after each other. It's you never know. A moment's are gone too quickly. So yeah.
So 5 of the boys were rescued, and then 2 perished.
2 perished. Yeah. Very. So sad.
There are 7 boys that are out in the surf.
6 altogether. So 6 altogether. Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, 5 were rescued, or 5 were recovered. 2 didn't make it. So yeah. But if it wasn't for that, though, there could have been a far higher fatality rate. But it's a tricky thing to do, because like the club got recognised, or a few people got recognised for it, but no one wanted to be recognised. I remember them saying, how do you feel about these awards? And the sentiment is that we would rather have the kids back with us today.
Right.
So it's like when we were saying before about awards. Awards don't mean anything. Life does. That's what we should be valuing. So. Yeah.
All right. So this podcast, I love the awards. I love reading the write-ups that people get to be recognized for great things that we all do. But it's not needed. It's that what we do is awesome. And a message from the family, like somebody calling back saying, hey, thank you for all the effort, and thank you for what you did. It means so much. So it's why I keep going.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's probably why you had that when you talk to the Aussies, we can be a bit laconic in that way, a little bit that, hey, that's what we're here for,
Right.
Right. I didn't get involved just to go for a ride in the helicopter. I got involved because I thought I could make a difference. So it's not about receiving anything for it. So yeah. And
you might have wanted to go for a ride in a helicopter too.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Oh, 100%. That's what I wanted to definitely go for a ride in the helicopter. But I can tell you, all my crew downstairs, that when we have it in Adelaide, I know all the crews around Victoria, Queensland, WA, etc., wherever they are. The one thing that they'll tell you is, like in the media rock up, is no, I don't need to do that. We were just doing it. We're just doing what this is what we signed up for. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember looking at the video, like some dude jumps out of a helicopter. I was like, yes, please. I want to do that. Yeah, and then everything came after that. I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Man. Wow. Cool. I'm sorry that the 2 of the boys lost. With the amount of assets that you threw at that, though, that shows a lot of your agency and what you guys do. That's incredible. we're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Switlick. No mission is the same. Why should your suit be? Introducing a new custom dry suit experience. Choose your fabric, colors, neck and wrist seals, zippers, pockets, collars, and so much more. Intelligent measuring prompts ensure the most tailored fit. Brought to you by Switlick Survival Products. For more information, visit us at www.switlick.com.
And it happens every day around Australia, whether it's the Westpac Lifesaver Rescue helicopters around all the states, they do a fantastic job. And, like the guys in Victoria can tell you amazing stories of what they've been involved in. Queensland, WA, Western Australia, South Australia, up in the Northern Territory, they've got a rescue. But so all the services here, we've got 52,000 kilometres of coastline, but we can't be everywhere. So with the resources that we do, everyone gets out there and does an amazing job. And it's not just us. You've got the police, you've got the ambulance services, you've got the HEMS operations, your marine rescue groups. So hats off to anyone that's involved in any of these agencies, because whilst I'm proud of what we do and our service in particular, the work that we do with the ambulance service, with the police, Pol Air, toll helicopters, etc. There's some incredible men and women out there who are doing amazing things. And, I think having the opportunity, I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to be a small part of that. So
that's cool. And you are not kidding. I've seen some of the videos that have been sent, like cliff rescues and flood rescues and wildfire stuff that goes on down there. It's incredible what you guys do. So impressive. Like I said, I'm going to come down and visit. I might not leave. Australia might have to kick me out.
Oh, just stay. Let's stay. We can always put another prawn on the barbie. It's all good. So,
okay. Teach me with a good time. Oh, that's good. All right, Shane, I'm digging it. I know there's a couple more that stand out to you. One of them you mentioned to me earlier was a sinking of a sailboat, and the sailboat was like, nah, go away. What?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. This is back in Adelaide as well. We're on a patrol, doing some operations. We got called to this sailboat, which is around about 5-6 kilometres offshore. So we get to the location and we're circling around it and going, okay, yep, there's no wires, everything looks pretty clear. And we can see, right, there's two people, two have got life jackets on, two have got nothing on, just bare skin. And we're going, okay, but we could see one of the people waving us away. So we kept a bit of distance, because a sailboat, it could be loose wires, etc. The last thing that we want is something that's going to bring us out of the air. So we're going around, and this person's still waving us away. There's myself, the pilot. There's my rescue crewie, and I also had a trainee crewie on board that day. And I'm going, can anyone see anything? No one can see anything. I said to the pilot, let's just back off here. I'm going to put both the rescue crewie and the trainee in the water. We'll get them to swim over and see what's going on and let us know what's going on. So they've hopped in the water, gone over there. There's nothing. They've called us in. We've gone in there. We've got the person on the line, brought them up, and then we've got another one in. And we've also seen one of the rescue boats a bit further away. So we've got two of them in, the other two with life jackets we've left down there at that stage. And then the rescue boats rocked up. By that time, there was only probably less than a quarter of the boat still above water. The rest of it had sunk.
Holy cow.
So it's good timing. So we've got them in. We've headed into the shore. We've landed. We've shut down. We've got the people out. We've gone, and I'm walking over to see my rescue crew and trainees and saying, so what's going on? And there was this guy carrying on in the background. And I said, what's going on? And he said, oh, Shane, you don't want to know. And so I'm walking up to this guy and I said, you all right, mate? And he's gone, mate, I told your other guys I was waving your way. I'm not paying for this. I've got no money. You should have left us and what have you. And I said, listen, buddy, it's not going to cost you a cent. All you have to do is say thank you. So, but he was all irate, and it was interesting because the other two people that he had were non-Australian background and couldn't swim, but him and his mate who had taken these guys out on the boat for a bit of a trip had put the life jackets on and didn't give life jackets to the other two people. So I said, hang on, you're out there about 6 kilometres out to shore at sea. The area that we know there's a few sharks around that area as well. And we said, mate, what are you doing? He said, no, I've got no money. Don't send me a bill. I'm not paying, etc. And just went, wow. And we're pretty fortunate. I don't know whether that's happened, as I know it doesn't happen around a lot of parts of the world, but in Australia, particularly with the Westpac Lifesaver Rescue helicopters that are part of the surf lifesaving operations, we've got 9 of them around Australia. If anyone gets rescued by one of those, you don't pay to be rescued. We don't charge you a single cent. So we could be out there for 2 or 3 hours doing something. Like these people, we rescued them, got them ashore, and there's no bill. It's covered through, as I said, Westpac covers, they're our sponsor. So through their funding of us, and then also through donations and fundraising, etc., we provide the service where we don't charge people for the taskings that we do. So,
which is fantastic.
This guy was just more worried about that he wasn't going to get charged. And I think I've sent you a video too with a young lady who thought she was going to get charged $40,000. So
totally,
so that'd be brilliant.
I loved it because you could literally hear the conversation underneath the helicopter as you're being hoisted out. Like,
yep,
I don't know how this is going to cost me like $40,000, and you're like, no, it's good, don't worry about it.
Yep, it's all free.
Okay, good. Enjoy the view.
Yes. It's gonna be a big bill.
Nah, not at all.
What?
Don't call me.
I thought it was gonna be like $40,000.
Free. Feel good. All free. Oh, and take it off now. Was that you too?
No, that wasn't me. That was Nick. That was another crew. But I'm kicking myself for that one because we got it on record. I thought, gee, we could have sent her a bill for $10,000. She thought she was going to get charged 40. So, but no, it's not how we do things.
I could have been the new gym in the downstairs, right next to the helicopter. I got you.
100%. But yeah, no, that's it's one thing that we pride ourselves on, that we can get to people and get them home safely, and they don't have to worry about footing a bill somewhere.
Man, that's really cool that Westpac does that. And I remember seeing the side of the Westpac helicopter, or your helicopter, because if I remember correctly, it's a BK-117. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, the BK-117. Nice. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, and it's got Westpac, and then I think there's a few other logos on the side. Is that right?
For us, there's probably we've got a government logo on there because government gives us a bit of support, and we've got another sponsor. And it'll happen. It varies for each of the states where they may have some other supporters there. But yeah, Westpac's our premier partner, naming rights partner, and then we've got a few other little supporters that help us out. But having said that, we still need to get out there and do fundraising and seek donations just to make to do what we do. Otherwise people would have to pay. So there's still a lot of work that goes into it, but we're very fortunate. And Westpac's been with us. Like, we started this operation out of Sydney here at this base. Well, not this base in particular, but this area here in 1973, on the 29th of September 1973. A group of surf lifesavers led by Ian Badams at the time had this idea about, okay, how can we get out there and make a difference in the world? We know that with surf boats and surfline and reels, we can't get out through the big surf, and lives were being lost. And it was about how can we be more efficient and, to make a big difference. So they got together and they went, rightio, had a look at what was happening around the world. And, there's some stuff happening with some military aircraft. There were some other trials happening elsewhere. And so they put forward about the idea of, doing a trial with a helicopter. So they got a Bell 47. So the Bubble, the old MASH helicopter at the time.
Yeah.
So I got that with the big floats, had a bit of a static line, the rescue crew in the budgie smugglers and the static line, jumping into the water. And in the first 3 days, they performed a couple of major rescues. So it proved its worth already. And it's flourished from there. So from, like a trial in 1973 with the Bell 47, when you have a look around Australia now, and Westpac gave us a $25,000 donation at that time to make that happen.
Wow.
And now it's grown,
so awesome.
Grown to now where we've got 9 Westpac Lifesaver Rescue helicopters. There's another 6 other Westpac rescue helicopters which do ambulance work around the country, and then there's 1 offshore rescue boat in Darwin. So, a simple idea has grown and flourished and had a massive impact on the Australian community, and we're very fortunate that that, and I know it sounds like a big advert for Westpac, but we're very fortunate that, they've been with us now for 51 years. So it's a pretty
Wow.
incredible partnership, and it's we've performed over 100,000 missions in that time, and not one person's ever had to pay to be rescued or assisted. So, we beat that drum pretty loud.
Yeah, as you should, and that's incredible. And like I look at some of the other agencies that are around the world. Everybody, like it's a lot of funding to do this.
Yeah, oh,
And the
yes.
fact
Yeah.
that you have Westpac coming in, it's a bank, right? Like Westpac
Yes. Yep.
Bank. Yeah.
Yes.
The
Yep.
bank is be like, hey guys, we got you. And
Yep.
man, I want to go bank at Westpac right now. I think I'm gonna open an account just so I can be
Yep.
part of this.
Yeah, 100%. But we've also got to acknowledge we're pretty fortunate. We've got, state governments around the country that also put in some money, and we've got other people that donate, etc. So, there's a lot of money, as you said, to make helicopter operations work.
Right.
And, we appreciate all the people who do support us. So, and hopefully that means
That's
that they know that they're going to be safe, because we'll be out there looking after them as well.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you and I talked a little bit about it before. There was a time where like the service was kind of shut down, and then it had to get vamped back up because of an incident.
Yeah, so that's a South Australian service. So that had a bit of a revamp. So in South Australia, there was a multi-agency operation with police, ambulance, country fire service, and surf was all part of a multi-agency. They did a review at that time and determined that they could cover the surf life-saving operations that were being done. However, very tragically, in I think 2004. A young lad, Nick Peterson, was out scurfing, so like on a boogie board behind a boat down in West Beach, Glenelg Way, was out there, and him and his mates, when they were changing over, he got attacked by a shark and lost his life. We didn't have, and we didn't have helicopter at the time, but we managed to, with the support of a couple of key people, we managed to get a helicopter up in 2 days. And that acted as a catalyst to get the Westpac helicopter back up. So we hadn't been in the air for 18 months. And then with that acted as a catalyst with the Peterson family, who going through such, tragic circumstances with the loss of life of Nick. In those circumstances, they supported us. We got a lot of media behind it. Westpac came on board to help us get the going there, and state government also put in some funds. And that gave the rebirth of a dedicated Westpac Lifesaver Rescue Helicopter Service in South Australia. So there's been, some challenges, but the service is growing great. It works well with the South Australian government and agencies there, and the community's better off because now they've got different aircraft for different operations. So there's always things growing and evolving, and sometimes out of adversity becomes opportunities to make a difference. So if you ever see the South Australian helicopter, it'll have a dedication on the front to Nick there, and we're very honoured and respectful of the fact that that unfortunately a family lost someone, but through that family support, we were able to make a difference to many other people's lives.
That is unreal. When you really sit down and think about that, right? 18 months that there's no flying, there's no helicopter service there. An incident happens, which is not fun. It seems like a lot of things happen like that. Policies written in blood. That's a lot of military too.
Yep.
But 2 days after that, and you've got a helicopter up and running, ready to go for anybody else. That's amazing.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of as I said, there's a lot of people who help behind the scenes with that. So it was a big team effort, and and we were pushing to try and get things going. Having said that, the government also still had their helicopters running, but this gave a dedicated service to that coastal operation. So that was the critical part that we were looking at, and through that created the catalyst for that to get up and going again, and it's been going great guns ever since. That's over 21 years ago now. But yeah, they originally started in 1978. So so they've been doing a lot of good things over there, and it's through change and evolution. If you have a look in every state, there's been some change and evolutions, and that's what it's about. It's sometimes you got to step back and say, right, what's the right service? What's the right need? Where it is? I know that we have some items that we have to deal with in New South Wales, but we've developed that partnership and that relationship. So Polair, we know exactly what their role is and where they fit in the ambulance service and us. So we actually work collaboratively together, and that's the key thing. And we're very fortunate that we've got a more mature system in place now compared to probably what we would have had 20 years ago, where we actually all embrace actually working together and playing off each other's strengths and supporting each other. So it's great to see.
Nice. Wow. It's impressive. It is very impressive. Like what you guys do down there is yeah. I'm excited to come down and not only learn more, but just to see it firsthand.
Yep.
Yeah. Telling you, it's going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah,
putting it out there into the universe and it'll happen.
Well, you're always welcome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, you know what? Back at you. You come to America anytime you want, and I'll set you up. I don't care where you go. Somebody knows somebody. It's just like down there. It's the same. I got you.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Oh man. So, all right, I'm gonna bring us to another one. We're gonna divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory, globally 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
In your in particular career, because you've been doing this for so long and you've moved like throughout different, I'm going to call it aspects of the rescue community. You're a ground controller as well, where you had an incident that you responded to, but a bit of an oversight position of all the assets. Is that kind of an accurate statement?
Yeah, I think yes. And that was sort of the one that we were talking about with those kids, where they lost their life. Probably a separate one to that is also we had a shark incident at Little Bay, just literally within 1.1 to 2 kilometres from the heli base here. So we had an incident there where we were contacted and advised that there'd been a shark incident where a person had possibly been bitten by a shark. So we launched from here. I drove around and I was on the ground there where I was basically second or third person on site because it was so close to our heli base. Helicopter got up and was looking through the area trying to sight the shark or the missing person at that time. And then we called in other assets where we had the police helicopter arrived. We had police on the ground. We had ambulances arriving everywhere. We had search groups going through, drones rocking up everywhere. So my role became more of a coordination area because there'd been witnesses and there'd been footage where unfortunately this person who was doing some ocean swimming and doing headland swims, he'd been attacked by a shark. He'd had one attack from a shark, and then the shark had come back and basically had attacked him a second time. So there was very little remains that were there. So we had to coordinate all the different assets to try and see if we could locate anything to make sure that there was that he had, if he had survived, where was he? How can we treat him quickly? And what can we do? But also at the same time, what we had to do is ensure that because we had jet skis on the water with lifeguards and surf lifesaving, is make sure that we weren't putting these people at risk as well. So it was from that coordination thing, working with police, and the police were coming to me saying, well, we've got media as well, and can you, we were supporting each other in so that we could ensure that in today's world, everyone wants to be informed, and if you don't inform them, then they're going to make things up. So it was about having a control mechanism there. So the relationship that we have with police is fantastic, and so we worked with them and other agencies to ensure that all the assets were being managed appropriately. Surf Life Saving New South Wales brought their teams in to control other assets. So I was controlling the aerial assets and liaising with the others. So we have a big forward command area set up to control the situation, which isn't uncommon. And we do get that occurring in multiple incidents where, interagency cooperation and liaison is always important and at different times. And generally, if it's a marine incident, then we have what's called Marine Area Command. or a water police operation unit, which will control that area, because that way they'll map out who's going to be doing what and where. So, you have to play a diversity of roles and understand what your role is in there for everybody to achieve the most beneficial result.
Very impressive, sir. Very impressive.
Yep.
Wow.
Thank you.
You know, everything that I hear in Australia is trying to kill you. And you're just proving the point that that's an accurate statement.
Oh, it's a funny one. A friend of mine, he was from the UK. They were coming out, and his wife picked New Zealand because she said, "I don't want to come to Australia because everything there is trying to eat you or kill you." However, it's an interesting one, because when you put it in perspective, the shark incident is, probably what is it they say in all the research, that there's the two greatest fears are public speaking and shark attacks. So, which is quite ironic that those two are the top two. So people are just as equally scared of being of public speaking than they are of shark incidents. But it's interesting when you have a look at it. The rate of shark fatalities is relatively low. Whilst we've had a number of shark incidents in the last 12 to 24 months, when you have a look at it, we average around about, just in the ocean alone, over 125 coastal drowning deaths in Australia. And we average around about 1 to 2 shark fatalities. But then you have a look at asthma. Asthma has hundreds of people that will kill you each year, and there's bees and things like that. So it's that primal fear that comes into play, and that's what we're trying to get back to people.
A shark is much bigger than most of us.
Yeah, but the chances are you've got probably more chance of
gills. Punch it in the nose.
You can do all those things. I don't know how it'll go. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting. I don't know. So, but I think the reality is that you've got to, anything we do in Australia. Well, I don't think it matters where you go. Like, there's always something that's going to happen that doesn't. There's, the US. Gosh, you've got a lot of interesting things over there. Don't worry about that. So.
1,001 ways to die in the desert.
That's it. So yeah, my brother-in-law lives in Texas, and I went, "Yeah, rightio." So they talk about the death adders, and yeah, good, that's good.
That's funny.
Yep.
Man. Shane, this has been awesome. Thank you. If there's any other stories that you want to share that stand out to you, you're more than welcome to share it. Other than that, we can start closing this out.
No, I think probably the key thing for us, and the service that that I'm here now in New South Wales with the Sydney service, we're very fortunate. We have a lot of rock fishing incidents, and it's just amazing, the skills and the ability of our people. And you've seen some of the footage that I've sent you that we get to there. We had an amazing story where it wasn't that long ago, last May, where 2 incredible stories. This rock fisher, he had gone out for the night, hadn't come home. His partner had raised the alarm. The police rang us about 2 o'clock in the morning and asked us to go out at first light. We presumed that we were going to be doing a body recovery, and we're going down there along the Black Cliffs at that time. It had been raining. It was the coldest night for New South Wales for that year at that stage. It was just heading into winter. It had been torrential rain, so rain was just peeling off the cliffs, off the top. And we got down there and we were searching, and lo and behold, you can see this little object on this cliff face. And we thought, okay, we're looking in the water searching for a body. Come along, and there's this person cuddled up on the cliff. And it had just got dark. He'd managed to get up on a cliff. He was just there. He'd been getting up doing shadow boxing during the night to try and keep warm so he didn't get hypothermia. And it was ironic because we showed him the footage afterwards, because where we got him, he was about 15 metres above the water. So if he'd made another slip, he would have ended up back in the water. But where we got him, it was very interesting because the water was peeling off the top of the cliff coming down, creating a waterfall. And that's where he sort of slept for nearly most of the night. But if he'd moved 2 metres further south, he would have been in a dry zone. So he didn't know where he was, because it was just, there was no moon or anything.
How you going, mate? My name's Jake. What's yours?
Adam.
Adam, how you going? Are you injured, Adam?
Just done my back in.
Sorry?
Done my back.
Yeah. What?
That's it.
Yep. So you got hit up against the rocks, did you?
Okay. I spent the night here.
Yep.
Come down to the beach, fish it. I went down the way I should have went up. Tried to go back up the same way. Couldn't make it. Then come completely dark. Had a fall. I think I'm alright. Just above cruise speed.
Yeah.
5 metre into a bit of a ditch.
Yeah. So you fall down a slope or a cliff?
Nah, slow.
Slope, just slid down it?
Yeah, and I couldn't see foot in front of me, and I was going to keep walking, and then that would have been about a 10, 15 metre more drop. So I just stayed on a rock till morning, and then I didn't know.
Okay, all good.
I was trying to get across that way, and the more bends I took, the longer it looked.
Yeah. Nah,
Just bugging
all
me.
good. All right, we'll get you out of here. What I'll just do, I'll let the guys know what's happened. Yep. That will do a winch probably in a couple minutes. I'll just check you over, make sure you don't have any injuries, then I'm happy to move you. Okay, and then we'll go from there. Okay?
But it's, I sleep on a rock.
Yeah. When we drop you off, we're going to hand you straight over to the ambos.
Okay.
I'll just tuck this over your back, and they'll want to check you out, and they'll ask you all these kinds of questions.
Yeah, mate, yeah.
And so I'm not going to double up on everything, okay?
No, you're right. I'll probably forget anyway.
Yeah, no, you're all right.
Thanks, mate.
You're all right, mate. We're here to help.
I'll hopefully make it.
Yeah.
I probably would have, but
Okay.
first.
So I'll brief you for everything. What's going to happen, they'll bring the winch hook down.
Yeah.
I'm going to there's a little thing here. I'll just get you to shuffle your bum up. And you come up in a cradle.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll hook your hooks on coming up with you like this.
Yeah.
Okay. As you come in the aircraft, you don't have to do anything. All I want you to do is keep your hands down by your side, and we'll get up on the seat. It'll be pretty loud and noisy, obviously. Once you're up on the seat, then I'll get you wrapped up and get your heat warmer, because I can tell you're fucking cold, eh? Okay. Lifesaver 21, Lifesaver portal, ready for pick up from drop-off location. All right. Okay, connection is good. Here, 1, 2, 3. Your chest strap is on.
But he was severely hypothermic. Other than that, he had no other injuries, etc. And we got him up and took him to the paramedics, and he got to go home to to his girlfriend, who chastised him severely. So, and then we, I think about a week later, we had 2 guys and with a young kid, 13-year-old, and they'd gone out in a fishing competition 30 kilometres offshore, 30 kilometres or 30 nautical miles offshore, and something had happened with their boat. All of a sudden, the water had come over the back of their boat, a large boat, and you've got the footage there. And as a result of it, the boat started sinking, and it was within 2 to 3 minutes, the boat, and you've seen it where it's only got the nose just above the water. The boat just sank that quickly. He was quite heroic in his own efforts, because both the guys got stuck in the cabin. So he dived down into the cabin, the guy who owned the boat, and pulled both these people out and got life jackets on them. And then we arrived, and it was interesting. We didn't get very good comms on where the person was. He didn't get a chance to put an EPIRB out. But our crew put in and said, we think it's going to be this location. And we flew straight there and straight on top of him. And as you'll hear in the footage, he comes over, and then we saw the Westpac heli come straight over. So we got them and got them out. But, and they've been fantastic supporters since then. They just cannot say enough, because, they said, hey, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here today. The ironic thing is our rescue crew didn't know in their, it was a big game fishing competition, but we'd done the rescue, and then we were on the shore and the media's there, and they go, so, what were you fishing for? And they said, we were fishing for shark. And our rescue crew, he's gone, hang on, no one told me that before I went in the water. So they'd been chumming up the water, fishing for shark. It was a shark fishing, they were looking for sharks. So, so it was quite an interesting situation. But we got there, and as I said, when you see the footage, it goes, wow, okay, that's a long way from shore. And and the best part for that story to me is the owner of the boat said, the most important thing that happened that day is the 3 most valuable things got to go home. And it's interesting because the young kid who was just a friend, it was a mate's friend, they took on the boat there. And, you know, when we spoke to his mum, you know, she couldn't have been happier. Just going, when she heard the story, like, she said, "Oh, I'm just, you know, so grateful that you guys could get there and, you know, bring my boy home." So, you know, so there's, you know, that's the best part, is that there's lots and lots, hundreds of these beautiful stories. You know, as I said beforehand, sadly, there's some that don't, you know, have this happy ending. And to those people, you know, we recognise you, and our thoughts and love are always with you. And we will do our best every day to make sure that we can do whatever to bring you home.
Well said. Well said indeed.
Yep.
Right on. Shane, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your stories. Final question before I let you go, and that is, if you had a piece of advice with everything you've been through, from nippers all the way to general manager of the Lifepac rescue helicopter in Sydney, what would it be?
And never give up on your dreams. If you want to do something, go for it.
Oh, that's super simple and easy. Boom! Mic drop. He's out. Shane, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been an absolute pleasure. I am very much looking forward to the day that I get down there and get to hang out with all of you guys, from south to north, from north to south, whichever direction we end up going. You and I have a lot of the same people that we know, so it'll be fun to give everybody a hard time. Like, oh yeah, him and him and him and him.
Exactly. Now we look forward to it, mate. And get yourself over here. Let's do stuff.
I look forward to it. All right. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Go.
Now it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share, or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode.
Metro Aviation. Metro Aviation, the world's largest family-owned aeromedical operator, offers comprehensive aircraft services with 140 plus aircraft in over 25 states. The Completion Center installs medical and law enforcement kits and avionics, serving diverse aviation needs including offshore, utility, VIP, and corporate sectors.
Switlick. No mission is the same. Why should your suit be? Introducing a new custom dry suit experience. Choose your fabric, colors, neck and wrist seals, zippers, pockets, collars, and so much more. Intelligent measuring prompts ensure the most tailored fit. Brought to you by Switlick Survival Products. For more information, visit us at www.switlick.com.
And
Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory, globally 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
On the surface, today may have seemed one of the types of days least likely to require the services of surf lifesavers or in fact their new helicopter service, but such was not the case.
Well, we do get very good support from the public, we can't deny that, but of course finance is always a difficult problem. The helicopter service, for instance, running in the metropolitan area is a very, very expensive thing, and funds just aren't always available.
I don't think ever have we brought our life-saving equipment, gear, medical services to a higher point than they are as at this date today.
A 9-year-old boy is recovering tonight in hospital after being winched to safety from the Blue Mountains west of Sydney. The Westpac rescue helicopter was called when the boy fell down a 7-metre slope, fracturing his ankle.
In the past 13 years, the red and yellow helicopters of the Surf Life Saving Association have become the most widely recognised in New South Wales. In that time, they've flown 13,500 missions.
Beginning in 1973, over 100,000 missions over 50 years. That's a lot of lives and a lot of people who have come home safe to their families. Together, we continue to reach new heights, bringing hope and safety to those in need. This is what we are here for. When needed most, we will be there, bringing people home.